How to find your own purpose. I've been living a very comfortable life up to now, but have really lost motivation to work or take care of responsibilities. Everything is hard because I'm dragging my feet and waiting to the last minute to complete. How does one find their groove again or a sense of purpose when they don't even know what they want? I know it's vague, but it's how it rolls around in my head. I think this one is, the reason I put this in the list is because I know a lot of people are struggling with quarantine. I know you've talked about even your own family and issues that with quarantine, just like how it's challenging for so many people. So I think that would be a good one to kind of in context of the moment we're in now.
Well, I think Anna's question is something that everybody can relate to on some level, right?
Yeah.
We're all looking for greater purpose in our lives, and we're all evaluating how we're living on a day-to-day basis against some standard, imagined or otherwise, of what our life could look like. So it's easy to say, my life's not working, I should have this. Why am I not super excited when I wake up in the morning? When I read this question, I think what's instructive is, first of all, the fact that she says she's living a very comfortable life, right? So there's almost like some guilt, like my life's been comfortable, so I shouldn't complain, right? Like I should just be happy with what I have.
Right.
But at the same time, if you're dragging your feet, if you're procrastinating, there's something that's perhaps a little bit out of function at the moment. So the first question I would ask is, what isn't working? Like perhaps do an inventory of what's suboptimal and try to set aside that guilt. Like you feel like, it's indulgent for me because I live a comfortable life to make a list of things that aren't working because I'm lucky and I'm grateful to have the job that I have or the apartment that I live in or whatever it is. But if you can be rigorous and objective in that inventory of what's not working optimally, I think that's a starting place. And then the ever elusive question of like, how do you find purpose?
How do you get it back? Yeah.
How do you, or if you've lost it, how do you get it back? And I wish I could give you a pithy answer of here's how you do it. It's very difficult, right? This is an individual journey that's going to look different for everybody. But I think fundamentally for everybody, it begins with an inside job. Like this is an internal search, right? If you don't know what your purpose is, I can't tell you what your purpose is. You have to discover that for yourself. And that journey of self-discovery requires you to look inward, also in a rigorous and objective way, to try to figure out what it is about who you are that A, makes you uniquely you, and B, that you feel inspired to uniquely express. And the only way of answering that question or unlocking it is to not only ask yourself those questions, but to begin experimenting, right? Like try these different things. What brings you joy?
Yeah.
Try to remember that thing when you were a kid that you used to like to do, not because somebody told you to do it, but because you had a natural inclination towards it. As we grow older, we tend to let go of those things, or we shift our perspective on them and decide that they are the purview of a young person. And as a responsible adult, it's no longer okay for you to engage in those things. So the more that you can connect with that inner child, I think, and try to remember what some of those behaviors and activities are and build those back into your life, I think is a good means of connecting with yourself that might lead you to some discoveries around purpose. And I also think that this can be indulgent. So rather than flogging yourself like, what is my purpose and I need a purpose, maybe just go help somebody else out.
Yeah.
You know, the more that you can get out of your own way and your own self-obsession and just make yourself available to somebody who has less than you. And it doesn't mean that you have to go volunteer at a soup kitchen, although that's perfectly fine. It could be calling up a friend that you haven't talked to in a long time, or somebody that you know is having a hard time, and just letting them know that you're available to them. And I think when you build that into a habit where being of service to other people in a selfless way is a reflex rather than a burden or an obligation, that in my experience and what I've seen with other people, is probably the best way to set you on a trajectory that's going to connect you with some kind of purpose in your life.
I love that.
I know for myself, when I'm of service to other people, my problems don't matter or they get smaller. And the truth is, the more selfless you are, first of all, the happier you are. It's very gratifying when you're helping other people. Like it gives your life meaning. So when I say, how do I find purpose? What I hear is like, my life doesn't feel like it has meaning. Well, everybody can build more meaning into their life by helping other people.
Right.
Your life immediately becomes more meaningful when you're of service to others.
How do you get your groove back? Be of service to others. I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
And experimenting, you can even do on a daily basis. You can't find your purpose, maybe your purpose with a capital P on a daily basis. But like I remember I was in New York with my friend Anthony Demby a long time ago. And I woke up, I was staying with him and he's like, what's your purpose today? Or what's your intention today? And I never do that. I don't wake up with a specific intention. And I felt kind of like simultaneously like, wow, what am I doing wrong? And then also, okay, I decided connection, connect. And later that day, I was on this subway that got stopped in the middle of like the track for 25 minutes. And people were losing their minds because they were busy or whatever. And this guy next to me was like cursing and freaking out. And I, instead of like just getting up and leaving, I started to talk to him because that was an intention. And that's like what you're saying with experimenting. You can start that easy. If you don't know where to volunteer just yet or who to be of service to, you can wake up and give yourself a purpose every morning. What's today's purpose?
Yeah, and it can be what I love about that story is if you decided that day your intention was connection and you're stuck on that subway, that just means to engage that dude who's having a hard time on the subway and maybe make his day a little bit better.
That's it. Yeah, you know what I mean? Just talked with him and talked through his problem, and that's what we did. Yeah. Meanwhile, there was this weird, like 6'5" skinhead that was making like figure eights in the hall, like stomping in his combat boots that you didn't want to look at. That was scary. That guy.
All right, man.
New York City.